I've introduced online resources of Python. I believe you will find a lot of valuable resources from my introduced links. And then I will introduce the IDEs of Python. So I will introduce the partner IDEs and the available IDEs in UNG computers. And then I will talk about the teaching environment of Python in UNG. I taught Python as my 1301 classes for quite a few years before. So I will share my experience of teaching Python in this workshop as well. And introduce the textbooks of Python. So the objectives include the following part. And the content in the workshop today includes first one, introduction to Python. This is an overview of the entire Python. And then numeric numbers, strings, and sequence types. And finally, in this workshop, we will talk about the textbooks and applications with Python programming. So my topics is up to loop and conditional statements. In the second workshop, Horizon will provide conditional statements, loops, file operations, and some other applications. So, can you see my PowerPoint? I changed the PowerPoint. Yes. Okay, so part one in my workshop is the introduction to Python. If you have any question, feel free to ask me or ask Bryson or Timelight. They are all on site. So you can answer question on site or you can type the answer from the chatting window. Okay, so part one is introduction. If you don't see the PowerPoint, I can make sure that share it again. Yeah, because I shared. Okay, let me close this one. Share
the whole screen.
Share
the very top left screen. There you go. That was share everything.
Yeah.
You're great.
Okay, part one, introduction to Python. In this part, I will introduce the history of Python and the IDEs of Python, and later we will begin the basic components of Python, Python programming examples, and I will present the common of Python and the traditional languages, for example, Java. And then you know Python is not difficult. So many of the syntax are the same as Java. Also, I will present the new of Python. So Python has many new characteristics. So at the end of this part, you will have the overall impression of Python. First one, the history of Python. Python was invented in the Netherlands in early 90s by Guido Rossum. Now he's working at Google. Python was named after Monty Python. It was open sourced from the very beginning, and it is considered a scripting language, but is much more scalable, objects-oriented, and functional from the beginning. It is used by Google from the beginning, and it is very popular nowadays. Okay, the overview of Python. In high-level languages, there are two categories. One is a compiled language, such as C, Java. The second category is interpreted language, such as MATLAB and Python is also an interpreted language. The interpreter translates Python code to bytes code, and this bytes code is executed by Python virtual machine. Python supports a lot of programming paradigms such as object-oriented programming, functional programming, procedural programming, logical programming, structured programming, and so on. Python is very easy to learn, and it is a cross-platform, open source, and it has a lot of standard library and active communities, and it is useful for a wide variety of applications. So you see many companies and organizations use Python, for example, Google, Yahoo, YouTube, and it has many Linux distributions, and it is used for games and apps. So you see, they are the enterprise and organizations. Okay, so when you learn a new language, of course, you want to find many online resources. So I collected the online resources and present the links over here. For example, the first one is a beginner guide. So let me copy. So this is a beginner for Python. From this link, you will find a lot of valuable resources. For example, download Python, examples, help, mathematics, and other resources. The second one, documentation. So documentation, from this link, you will see what's new in Python 3.10 tutorial, library reference, language reference, Python setup and usage, and many other modules for Python. And this one, videos. So this link contains 44 videos of Python from very beginning to the depth learning. So you will find the entire process of Python learning. That one, training class. So you will see the training class of Python from this link. The next one is also very useful. It is called Learn Python. So from this link, you will find the very simple program. For example, hello world, variables, the types, lists, basic operators, string formatting, conditional statements, loops, functions. Also, from this link, if you click on one of the topics, you will find the online IDE. So you can, for example, run the program online. And, this one is Python book resources. Mark was a professor in Georgia Tech. Now he's working in University of Michigan. Mark and his wife developed many online resources and Python textbooks. This textbook is used in many universities in University System of Georgia. So it is used for 1301. This is the textbook. Also, from this link, you can see many other resources. So, example, see JS for Windows, the other operating system, Mac, Linux, and some other resources. Okay, so this is the online resources. You can find many valued resources from the links. Running Python in a different operating system. If you run Python on Windows, you can download Python from the official websites of Python and install Python. And then you run idle from the start menu and then you run Python. If you run Python in Mac operating system, so Python is already installed, and then you open a terminal and run Python or run idle from Finder. If you run Python in Linux, so first you can check if Python has been installed in your computer in Linux. So you can just run Python from terminal. If Python is not installed, it is very easy to install Python in Linux. You can just type the command and then download Python and install it automatically. So when we run a high-level language, so normally we will use a kind of IDE. For any language, there are many different IDEs. So each one has his or her own preference. In this training workshop, first I will introduce various Python IDEs, and then I will recommend some IDEs available in UNG computers, because we will teach 1301 for UNG students, and they use UNG computer for their laboratory. So first one, IDE download from this link. You see, you can download IDE from various operating systems, from Windows, Linux, Unix, Mac, and other systems. And setup, this is the link for setup. Okay, this is for setup. IDEs, Python has many IDEs. One is Visual Studio. And the second one is Python in Visual Studio Code. This one is idle. It is very popular. Vim, this is a traditional software program for many applications. Emacs, Eclipse. So many of you, I believe, use Eclipse for Java, and it is also for Python. And if you don't want to install any IDE in your computer, you can use some online IDEs. I recommend two good online IDEs. The first one, this is the first one. You can run your program. For example, this program is to calculate the sum of two numbers. You type the first number, 3, type the second number, 5, and then the sum of 3 and 5 is 8. So this is one of the online IDE. It is called onlinepython.com. Some Windows. And the second one, okay, is also an online Python IDE. If you run the program, for example, this program prints hello world, and then you print hello world. If you type print 5, and then you print 5. For example, if you assign A with 3, then you have A. This needs parentheses in this online. Okay, in this online IDE, it needs parentheses for print. So some IDE don't need parentheses. Okay. So when we talk, when we teach students, excuse me, in starting one, we normally ask students to use IDEs in UNG computers. We use a built-in IDEs. UNG computers have 3 IDEs. One is the very popular IDLE. Second one is called PyCharm, it's also popular. The third one is called JS. The JS was used as an IDE for previous starting one courses in Gainesville campus. So it's very easy for initial students because when students take a starting one, they don't have any programming experience. They don't know what IDE is. So they want to get started as soon as possible. So IDE, JS was used for Gainesville students. Yes.
If I could add just one thing, so I think most of the faculty know that we have a student in cybersecurity right now who is completely blind.
Mm-hmm.
And so the accessibility for especially the, well, for every class, but especially those coding intensive classes like 1301, 1302, as faculty, if you can use more accessible IDEs, the Python idle IDE is actually very accessible because it's fully text-based. So is Visual Studio Code you mentioned, and is Denise on the call right now? Denise, are you online?
Yes, I'm online.
Hey, Denise, Visual Studio Code was actually one of the packages that Gus, our student who's blind, had asked me to add into the requests for all of the lab images for the fall. And
okay.
I'll send that to you for the software list for the labs for the new building.
Yeah, it is available in the virtual lab.
Yes, it is. But the virtual lab is not accessible. For the virtual lab doesn't allow for screen readers or anything else. Unfortunately, the audio doesn't carry through. And so it doesn't give him access. He does have Visual Studio Code on his Mac and he uses it in one of his virtual machines. But he said that it is actually the most accessible besides Notepad, Python, and then any of the web-based IDEs. So the web-based IDEs that Dr. Yang just shared will be useful as well. If you have Gus in your class, it would be good to use that with the entire class, not just for for the instructor to use one thing and then ask Gus to use something different. So if you guys just think of that as Gus comes through each of your classes, I'm hoping everybody gets a chance to work with him. He's an amazingly smart and fast learner, an outstanding student all around, a great guy. But as you work with him, and thanks to all the faculty who have worked with him this semester, we've been very successful for several of the even harder content classes. Think about the accessibility and of your PowerPoints. Thanks to Dr. Abgaz for updating all of his PowerPoints with alternate text for all of the images. And lots of examples like that. I'm sure I can't call out everybody, but for Gus, the Visual Studio Code is going to be a really good IDE, and it's a good one. Our students already love it across just about every course. They'll begrudgingly use Eclipse or one of the other IDEs if they have to, but Visual Studio Code is sort of the go-to among a lot of the students. And it's very accessible. Microsoft did a good job making it Section 508 compliant for every language, Python, Java, you name it. So consider that as one of your tools in your arsenal, and the examples that James gave of the web-based and the Python idle, all of those work really well. So thank you.
Francis, thank you so much. We are in a workshop, so feel free to speak. We are discussing the IDE. Yeah. So we can find the most suitable IDE for our students. And okay, so my talk follows JIS, because JIS was used in 1301 course before. JIS is a JSON environment for students. JSON is an implementation of the Python programming language, and this allows Python code to work easily with Java library. It was used in previous 1301 in Gainesville campus. So if you use a UNG computer, you can install JIS from Software Center, or some computers have installed JIS already. If you use an external computer, you can go to this website to get the version of JIS for your computer and install JIS by yourself if you don't use a UNG computer. JIS is a JSON environment for students. It has a simple editor to enter your program, and the command area to enter your commands and run your program. So you see there are two main small windows. One is a program area, second one is command area. If you want to bring up the help area, this is the third area in JIS. So JIS has a similar interface of many software programs. For example, save as, cast, copy, help, and you can use either key to bring up the previous commands in the command window. Okay. So far I introduced the online resources and IDE. Next, I will introduce the basic components of Python. So white space, in many programming languages, white spaces are not important. They don't have impact to the running result. But in Python, white space does matter. Python does not use the curly braces to enclose the blocks of code. Python use indentations to identify the code block and the logic of the program. So white space does matter in Python. It is not the same as many other programming languages. In Python, the comment starts with pound sign, and columns starts on the new block in many constructs such as a function, declaration, and then classes. Names Python. The naming system in Python is almost the same as other programming languages. So they are all different valid names because Python is case sensitive. So they are different valid names. As many other programming languages, the reserved words cannot be used as user-defined identifiers. They are Python reserved words. Basic data types, integers, float numbers, Boolean values. Integer, for example, 2 or 5, 5 divided by 2. Floating number 3.4, 5, 6. Boolean value you assign true or false to a variable, and then you can display the Boolean value. And in some IDE, it's displayed as true or false. Some display as 1 or 0, 1 for true, 0 for false. if you compare two items, you will get true or false. Assignments, it is the same as most other programming languages. We use a single equal symbol for assignment. Only very few programming languages, such as Pascal, use a different assignment, such as the colon equal symbol for assignment. Python, the same as most other languages. Assigning input, this is also called a dynamic assignment. So you can use input to get the prompt message and then assign a value. For example, if you type score equals, is assigned with input, what is your score? If you type 95 and then score 95, this is the dynamic input, dynamic assignment. Simultaneous assignment, if you would like to assign many values or expressions to multiple variables, you can use variable 1, comma, variable 2, comma, and so on, is assigned with expression 1, comma, expression 2, comma. For example, if you want to assign 1 to A, 2 to B, and 3 to C, and can use it. ABC is assigned with 1, 2, 3. So use ABC is assigned with 1, 2, 3. And then if you type A, it is 1. Type B, it is 2. Type C, it is 3. So this is a simultaneous assignment. You can assign x plus y to sum, x minus y to difference. This is also an example of simultaneous assignment. How could you use a simultaneous assignment to swap the two values of x and y? In many programming, we use a temporary variable, for example, x assigned to t, y to x, and then assigned t to y. In Python, we can swap the two values x, y by a very easy manner. X, comma y is assigned with y, x, and then we swap x and y. Example, x is assigned with 3, y is assigned with 4. And then if we print x and y, and we print 3 and 4. If we assign x, y assign with y, x, and then we print x, y, we use idle key to bring up the previous commands. Then we print x, y, they are 4 and 3. So this is one of the features, new features in Python. We swap two values in a very easy assignment statement. So we can use the same idea to input multiple variables from a single input statement. For example, this is a simple program, span and x. So if we go out for a picnic, we want to count how many eggs, how many span. So the program x, comma, span is assigned with the input, enter the number of eggs followed by number of slices of span, and then print the order how many eggs and how many slices of span. Yummy. So if we run the program, okay, this is a program, load the program, and then run the program in this. So enter number of eggs followed by number of slices of span. For example, I enter 5 and 8. So you order 5 eggs and 8 slices of span. Okay, so I introduced the basic data type. And now I'm introducing sequence types. Couple this is a simple immutable ordered sequence of items. The items can be mixed types, including collection types. Second one, strings. For example, John Smith is also immutable. And the third one is the list. It is mutable. It is very useful in Python. Documentation. If you want to add a comment, you add a pound sign. Once you add a pound sign, the line is commenting. Variables in Python, the variables are not declared. You can straightly assign values to the variable. And then the data type is the value you assign to the variable. The variables are references to object. And the type information is with the object, not the reference. And everything in Python is an object. Next, I want to give you some examples of simple Python programs. So this program is to print hello, and the computers are found in the IDE of JS. Once we run a program, we define a function, and then we call the function in the command window. In some other IDEs, we can straightly put the statements together or define function. So this is a simple example. And the second one, this is a function with a parameter person, great person. So for example, print hello and the person, if you call the function with Bob, this will print hello Bob, and then how are you? Okay, let's see. Function. Great. We type the program in the editor window, load the program, then call the program, for example, great Bob, and then hello Bob, how are you? The parameter person you replace it with the actual parameter Bob, formal parameter person replace it with Bob. So if you call Harry and then it's going to say, hello Harry, how are you? Paula, hello Paula, how are you? And this is a little more complex program. In this program, we create some chaotic numbers by an input. So in the program, first type a number between 0 and 1, and then use a for loop. For loop for I is range 10. So range is also very important in Python. I will introduce range, particularly soon later. So in the for loop, we create x is assigned with 3.9 times x times 1 minus x, and then print x. So this is also an example. Let's open program. Load the program. Run the program. So enter a number between 0 and 1. If I enter 0.56, and then the program create a lot of chaotic numbers. Okay, so this is my first part I hope from this part you have the overall impression of Python, and also you know how to get the Python resources, get Python IDEs. So this is a very basic concepts of Python. Let's go to part 2. Part 2, numbers. In part 1, I briefly introduced the numbers, strings, and the sequence types. They are important components of Python. And then in part 2, part 3, and part 4, I will particularly introduce each individual number, string, and sequence types. So in this part, you will understand the concepts of data types, and this part will let you be familiar with the basic numerical data types in Python, and to be able to use Python nice library, and to be familiar with numerical operations in Python. As many other programming languages, Python has 2 different kinds of numbers. For example, 5, 4, 3, and 6. They are whole numbers. They are integer numbers. They have low fractional part. 0.25, 0.10, 1.3. They are decimal fractions. They are floating numbers. Integer in Python are equivalent to C, non. Non-integer, this is longer. And if you want to convert the data type, you can use casting. So if you want to convert a floating number to an integer, you use int. If you want to convert an integer to a floating number, you use float. So they are casting. Python has a special function to tell us the data type of any value. For example, if you are working with your colleagues for a project, others use some variables. You want to know the data type, then you can use type. When you use type, you get the data type. For example, type 3, and then you see the type is int. Type 3.22, it is a float. So anytime you can use the function type to get the data type. Operators, so Python and other language have most common operators. For example, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And Python has a floor division, and that one is the modulus and the explanation. So let's see some examples for the operators. So I believe you are familiar with the regular mathematical operators. I want to show you the floor division and exponentiation, so part 2. So if you use 10 / 3, you get 3. So this is to get the quotient. In many other languages, if you do 10 over 3, you get 3. And if you want to calculate 5 square, you can use 5 star star. So this is 5 square. If you want to compute 5 to 4, use 5 star star 4. So it's 5 to 4. 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 equals 625. precedence rules. The rules in Python is the same as other languages. So of course, parentheses have the highest priority, and then exploitation, and then multiplication, division, and valueless, and next addition, subtraction, and the operators with the same precedence are evaluated from left to right. So this is the same. Math library. So besides the operators, Python has a lot of math functions available in math library. A library is a module with some useful declarations and functions. Example, if you try to find the root of the quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, so you need to calculate the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. So to calculate the square root, we can use the math library. So we can import math and then use math library. The math library provides square root, and then we calculate square root. For example, we can calculate math dot sqrt b times b minus 4 times a times c. This is the program to find the root of a quadratic equation. First one, we define a main function, and then we print the introduction message. This program finds the real solution to a quadratic, and then we print for a new line. And then this is for simultaneous assignment. We assign A, B, and C with input. Please enter the coefficients of A, B, C. For a quadratic function, we need to input A, B, and C. And then this root is a math of square root b squared minus 4ac. And then this is root 1, root 2. And then we print the solution are root 1, root 2. So let me run the program. Yes. And this is a program. So you see, if we run the program, we type 3 numbers for the coefficient A, B, and C. Please enter coefficient. You see the prompt message. The example, we type 3, 4, -1. And then you see the solutions are the first one point 21 something, 61, -1 point 54 something. So this is an example of math library. And the second example is to calculate the factorial. And in this example, I want to introduce range. It is range function. This is very important and very useful in Python. Factorial. So, for example, n factorial. Factorial is a very popular question in programming. If you calculate n factorial, it is n times n-1 times n-2 times 1. For example, 6 factorial equals 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 is 720. So if we calculate the factorial of a number, we need to use a loop. example, at first assign 1 to fact, and then use a for loop for factor in list 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The fact is assigned with the fact times factor. So this is working. Or we can use the reverse order. We use the for factor in 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I want to introduce a range function, so we don't have to type a lot of numbers in the list. We use range function. A range function returns a sequence of numbers from 0 to n-1. But if we don't want to start from 0, we can specify the starting number. For example, range start n returns start and start plus 1 through n-1. For example, if you use range 3, 5, you will create 3 and 4. If you use range 4, 10, you will create 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 9. And if you don't want to use 1 as an increment, you can specify the increment, for example, start, n, and step. And then the step is the increment. For example, if you use 3, 20, and 2, you will create 3, 5, 7, 9, and up to 19. And in part 1, I briefly introduced the sequence type list. So if we create a sequence, we can use list to put everything into a list. For example, list range 10, we create such a list. List range 5, 10, we create such a list. List range 5, 10, 2, we create 5, 7, and 9. So range, function, and list are very useful in Python. It is so the calculation is used in not only in loop but also in many calculations. For example, if you call list range 10, you get 0, 1, 2, 3, 9. If you call list range 5, 10, you get 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. If you call list range 5, 10, 2, you get 5, 7, and 9. So we have range function, and then we can use the range function and list in the program of factorial. We can calculate the products from 2 directions. One is in ascending order, second one is in descending order. For example, we can calculate the range 2 to n+1 or n1 minus 1. So this program is to calculate the factorial by descending order. In the program, first, you see the introduction message. Please enter the whole number. For example, you type 5, and the fact is assigned with 1. And then for factor in range n1 minus 1, and the fact is assigned with fact times factor. So this is to create the list n minus 1, n minus 2. So and print the factorial of n is fact. Okay, this is the program to calculate the factorial of n. Load the program, run the program, presenter a whole number. If I type 6, the factorial of 6 is 720. If I type 5, the factorial of 5 is 120. Type conversion is a very important topic in all programming languages. So In other program language, we can use, for example, assignments conversion, promotion conversion, casting. So here, I introduce the casting conversion. Casting conversion, if you want to convert data type to a different type, you add the function with a name of the desired data type. For example, float 22, 4 division 5. So this is a 4.0, 22. 4 divided by 5, this is the quotient. This is a 4, integer 4. And the integer 4 is converted by float number by casting. So float 4, the result is 4.0. Int 4.5, this is 4. Int 3.9 is 3. Round, this is round off. So round 3.9 is 4.0. Round 3, this is 3.0. So in this part, I introduced the concepts of data type and the basic calculation of numeric numbers, the Python math library, and a very important function range. Okay, so I have 3 other parts. Let's take a short break, about 5 minutes. We will continue our workshop at about 11. It is 10:54 now. Let's take a break about 5 minutes.
So while Bryson is here, can we talk about the book? Yeah, thank you.
Bryce, do you want to talk about the book right now or after?
Yeah.
So
No, I'm just a conversation, yeah, just the 3 of us,
And then
or all of us, anybody who has input on the textbook.
in
You can change that style, he does a really good job of visual pieces of Python. Most of the issues both have looked at, but there's some actually like new uses iBooks. So I think we could have a couple of textbook options.
Yeah. recommended us.
Any of those low cost? Actually, the links that. I know, so I just to get that low. Yeah,
How
right.
much is that?
I think that low cost, below $40.
Hey, maybe send a link.
We have Jason and
I haven't used iBooks.
you use that book, right? For your class, how much pays?
Let me check it.
Does anybody know the cost of design books for Java or for Python?
Yeah, I know something about that in Java. I taught 31 in summer 2021 and 2020. I used the Zybook for Java.
We can invite Jason to talk to. Jason.
Yes, I'm here, Tamrat.
Thank you.
the
Are
cost
you
of-
using Zybook, right?
Yeah, the cost of it is dependent on whether you include the labs or not. So I usually include the labs and it costs around 60 something, close to $70.
Thank you. So do you recommend using Zybook as an option?
I like it. And the reason why I like it is because it's interactive, it's an e-text, so it's easy for the students to follow along to it. And what I also like about it is that it automates the grading for you. So when they submit their labs, it grades it and it shows them step by step where they made mistakes, if they made mistakes, and it's easier for them to troubleshoot where they went wrong. So that's what I like about it.
Thank you. Bryson has also mentioned last time, Gus likes it, blind student likes it very much.
He used it in Ivy's class, yeah.
For Avi's class, he used it and it's compatible with accessibility, fully compatible. So
The web-based platform.
Yeah. that's a good thing to know. Like will encounter students for the future as well. So
Yeah.
partially blind, so could be useful for many students having that. So that's an option. We can discuss it. Part of a discussion today to at least suggest any other book or following that book as an option. So that would be a good thing.
Yeah, in my talk,
Okay.
I have a topic to discuss Python textbook. I will present two textbooks, and then everyone can speak and recommend the textbook for their knowledge.
Thank you.
Do you get permanent access to Zybooks? Do you have like access to Zybook like after the class or does it expire?
Yeah, I have not heard of that book, so
Yeah, I have access to that for computer science 1 Java, but not Python or in other classes.
Do the students get to keep access after the class is over?
Oh,
Does it expire?
good question. I don't think they have. Can students access after the class end?
I don't think so. After the class, about a few days or a week, students cannot get access to XP anymore.
Hmm.
In my impression, I talked with the provider before. So, for example, after 1 week or sometimes students are unable to get access to the book again. They can only have a window, for example, from January 1st to May the 3rd, then you get access to the textbook.
Okay. So I can't keep it on the shelf for 20 years. Keep looking at it.
That's my impression.
Yeah, some of the old.
Yeah, one of the worst thing about computer science books, like you keep your book,
Yeah.
then you don't want to see that book again. Like, but if you have math or physics, that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
20 years
That's-
or 100 years works fine.
Until they, come up with new science.
Okay, let's continue our workshop. Part 3, strings. String is a data type in all languages. In Python, string has this unique feature. For example, a string can be quoted by single quotation marks, double quotation marks, and even triple quotation marks for multiple lines. For example, we assign hello to string 1. So string 1 is hello. We use a double quote. If we use single quote, also assign hello to string 1. If we want to include multiple lines in a string, we can use a triple quotation marks. For example, 9-1, string 3 is assigned with 9-1, hello, 9-2, good morning, 9-3, how are you? And then if we print string 3, we will print the 3 lines. I use a function because once I copy the 3 lines and paste it to JS, it's only in this case the first line. So this is the function to show you an example of 3 lines string. And when I run the function, print string 3. String 3 has the 3 lines. Hello, good morning, and how are you? So getting a string as input, you can always use input to enter a string. Example, file first name in the sign of the input, you enter your name. If you enter your name John, and then it's going to display hello John. It's easy. The string data type has many features. Example, this one is to show you how to index an element in a string. The string is hello space Bob. You assign hello Bob to greet. If you use greet, zero is the index of 0 is the first element is H, then you will display H. So greet is a hello Bob, and then if you display greet 0, this is H. And you can display greet 0, 2, and 4. So it's H, L, and O. And if you assign H to X, you can print greet X minus 2. So in this page, the indexing is the same as the other programming language. In this page, let's see some other new feature in Python. So in Python, you can use negative numbers as an index numbers. So when we use negative numbers, we count from the last element. So for example, hello Bob. If we use greet -1, so -1 is the last character is B. If we use greet -3, so we will count from the last one, -1, -2, -3. -3 is uppercase B. So this is a new feature in Python. So greet -1, and then we display the last character B. Greet -3, we display the third and last character uppercase B. Because Python is able to use a negative index, so it is very convenient for some applications. For example, if you have a very long string, you want to get the character from the end of the string. You don't have to use a large number as an index. You can use a negative number as an index. So indexing returns a string containing a single character from a large string. This is the same as other language. And also, Python has a substring and slicing. This is also in other languages. But the matter is not the same. For example, some languages use the beginning index, the last index, and use comma. Python, we use colon. For example, greet 0, 3. This is to get the substring from 0 to 3 minus 1. So the index of 0 is H. The index of 1 is E. The index of 2 is L. So it returns H, E, L.
Use a negative index, does it reverse the string?
The negative index does not reverse the string, but it gets the character from the very end and back to the front, but not reverse the string. If you want to reverse the string, you need to do some other operation to reverse the string. So if we want to get a substring, we use the starting index and the ending index. We get the substring from the starting index to the ending index -1 character. Now this is the same as other language. Also, we can use the colon as the default for starting or ending index. For example, you want to start from index 0. You don't have to put 0. You can use the colon, raise colon 5. Here, once you use read colon 5, you begin from index 0 to index 5 minus 1. So you get hello from index 0 to index 4. If you use grid 5 colon, so the default is the ending index. So you begin from the space. The space has the index 5. And the last one is B. If you want to get the entire string, you can use colon and then you get hello Bob. So in Python, you can use colon as a default starting or ending index, or use colon to represent the entire string. This is the same as some other languages, such as MATLAB. In MATLAB, we can use colon for the default beginning index, ending index, or the whole. And in string data type, we can always use concatenation to connect two strings together. This is the same as other language. And also, we can use a repetition. It is a star to repeat the string for multiple times. Example for concatenation, span, concatenate X, and then the result is span X. So span X, and then we get span X. If we leave a space after N or before E, we will create a space in the new string. The next one, span, concatenate, and concatenate X, and then we will create span and X. And the next time, 3, so 3 star span, this is repetition. The span will be repeated for 3 times. So this is a feature in Python, but not in all languages. If you use a span star 5, so span is repeated for 5 times. If you use a 3 asterisk span, concatenate X asterisk 5, you will get 3 spans and 5 X. Okay, so in my workshop, I introduced the common feature of Python and other languages. Also, I introduced some new characteristics of Python. How to get the length? You use len span and get the length. This is easy. It is for all language. Operators of string, operators, concatenation, repetition, indexing, slicing, and get the length. Then we can use a for loop to handle a string. Okay, string is one of the sequence types. The next is also one of the sequence types. For string, we can use concatenation to connect 2 strings. Also for list, so here 1 and 2 is the list, 3 and 4 is the list. We can use a concatenation to connect 2 lists. So we just demonstrated the concatenation for strings. Now, for nest, we can use concatenation as well. So 1, 2, this is list 1, concatenate list 3, 4, list 2, and then we get 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, repetition, 3, we get 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. And grade, it is A, B, C, D, and F. Then we can use, for example, if we use a grade 0, we get A. If we use a grade 2, colon 4, colon 4, you get 2 and 3. So it gets the index of 2 is C and the index of 3 is D. We get C and D. Strings are always a sequence of characters, but the next can be sequences of arbitrary values. For example, you can put 1, span, 4, and U into a list. And the strings and the character numbers, strings are saved. So each character is saved as a number in computer. This is ASCII code. So if you have a character, you can use the function ORD to get the ASCII code. For example, the ASCII code for capital A is 65. Then you can use OR A to get 65. Or small a is 97. You can use a char for a number to get the character. For example, char 97 is small a. Char 66 is a B. And string has many other methods. So if you learn any programming language, the string has many methods. So there are the methods of string in Python. And so many of the methods are the same as Java or other language, and some are new in Python. Okay, so this is chapter 3, strings. Next one, sequence types. The sequence types in Python include tuple, list, and strings. So they are very useful in Python. Also, someone consider tuple and list as data structures. They are also data structures in some of the textbooks or in some of the documents. So sequence types of tuple are in a simple, immutable, ordered sequence of items. Items can be of mixed types, including collection types. So this is an example of tuple. You add John 32 and the CMXC of the list to tuple. List, it is a mutable, ordered sequence of items or mixed types. For example, you add 1, 2, John, up, down. Strings, for example, John Smith is immutable. Yeah, tuple and list are also considered as data structures. Similar syntax, all the 3 sequence types, tuple, string, and list, share much of the same syntax and functionalities. The difference, tuple and string are immutable and list are mutable. Example, define tuples using parentheses and commas. For example, if you assign 23 ABC 4.56 and the tuple 23 and the string depth to a tuple 2. So 2 is assigned with such values. This is 2. And if you want to create a nest, you can assign the value to nest. So you assign ABC 34, 4.34, and 23 to the nest. The tuple, the sign of tuple is a pair of parentheses. You see, you add the values to the parentheses and assign tuple. The sign of the nest is a pair of brackets. You assign the value to a pair of, you put the value to a pair of brackets. So you create the nest UI. And the string, you know, you can use a single quotation marks, double quotation marks, or triple quotation marks for multiple lines of the string. Yes.
You may already cover this in a second, but one thing that students have run into that confuses them sometimes is the difference between a tuple and a list.
Mhm.
So you can still access like tuple sub 0 or tu sub 0. You just can't assign it because a tuple is immutable, right? That's one of the things that the students struggle with if they ever use tuples. I usually default them to using lists for everything.
Yes, sure. This is a good suggestion. Yeah, when we teach Python, we can compare the difference of tuple and list. So we assign, we get, first we get, for example, the first element, and then we try to assign the new value. And then we can see one is beautiful, one is immutable. Yes, this is a great suggestion. So some of the suggestions are, so the suggestions are very valuable. You can, when we teach 1301 in the near future, so we can use the assignments to compare immutable, mutable, tuple list. So next we will get the individual elements in a tuple and list, and then handle list. For example, we get TU1. So TU1, this is ABC. If we assign TU1, so as Bryson said, this is a good point to compare the two. So we don't assign A to TU1. And if we get 9-1, we get 34. And if we assign 9-1 with 44, and we are able to assign 44 to 91. So now if we type the list, you see we change the second element. It is with the index 1, the second element. For a string, it is easy. If we use a string and the index, we get the corresponding element. And as a string for tuple and list, we can also use positive and negative indices. Example, for the tuple, we assign T with the values. And then if we use T1, so T1, we get ABC. If we use T -3, we get 4.56. So when we use the negative index value, we begin from the rear of the tuple. slicing return copy of a subset. So this is the tuple T. It has assigned with the values. And if we want to get the subsets from index 1 to index 3, we use 1, 4, and then we get the subsets from index values 1 to 3. So T1 colon 4, and then we get ABC 456, and the subtuple 2, 3. Okay, colon, we just talk about colon for string. So colon for string is to get the entire string. So now if we use colon, we make a copy of the entire sequence. For example, T colon, we have a T, and then if we use T colon, okay, we make a copy of the entire sequence. This is a T colon. And if you want to make a copy, for example, you assign L1 to L2. Okay, if you assign L1 to L2, this is to change the reference of L2. So both L1 and L2 will refer to L1. This is called aliases in Java. So if you have an object and you assign the reference of the object to the second one, and both of the two points to the same object, there is just one copy of the object, but both of the two points to the copy. If you use L1 colon assigned to L2, and then you make two individual copies, and there are two individual references. So this is the difference of the assignments of the L1 assigned to L2 or L1 colon assigned to L2. They are not the same, they are different. In Java, if you assign the reference of objects, and then it is the first one. So both of the two points to the same object, and this is called aliases in Java. And in this is to check if an element is in a tuple. For example, if you have such a tuple, and then if you call 3 in T, and then you get false because 3 is not in the tuple. But if you use a 4 in T, and then you get true. Okay, T is 1, 2, 4, and 5. If you use 3 in T, you get false. In JSON, false is displayed as 0, and true is displayed as 1. If you use 4 in T, you get 1. This is true. For string, this is similar. For example, string A is assigned with A, B, C, D, and E. If you use C in A, this is true. 1. You can use a substring, for example, CD in A. CD in A, this is true. 1. Be careful, the in keyword is also used in the syntax of for loops. And that's the comprehensions. So they're not the same in. The concatenation operator, this is used to connect two structures. So in the last part, you see we use a concatenation operator to connects two strings. Now we can use the two to connect it. Two tuples or two nests. For example, we have the first tuple 1, 2, 3, the second one 4, 5, 6, and use the concatenation operator to connect the two. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We use the two to connect the two nests. Then the result is the longer nest. This is normal. We use the concatenation to connect the three strings: hello, space, and word. And this one, repetition, it was introduced in the operation of string. It is also used in tuple and nest. So for the tuple, we repeat the tuple 3 times. The nest, we repeat the nest for 3 times. And the tuples and nests are very important in Python. So I particularly compare the two. Nests are mutable. For example, you can assign 45 to nest of 1, and then you see 23 was changed with 45. So Bryson suggested this topic. This is important. And we can use some other methods. For example, append. Use append to append new elements to the current list, or we use insert to insert a new one to a particular operation. For example, we create list 9. This is list 9, and then we append A. So when you append A, we add A, and if we observe I, observe 9, it has a new element A. If we want to insert I to the index of 2, so we use 9.insert 2I, and then if we check the new nest, we see I is inserted in the operation with index 2. And some operations are for list only. For example, you use index B, it returns it is 1, it is the index of B. If you use count B, it counts how many B's in the list. If you use remove B, and then you will remove B. So this is the operation for list only. For example, this is 9, A, B, C, D. If we use 9 index of B, here we get 1. So index, we get the index of a particular object. This is in many program languages. If you have a structure, you want to get the index. And if you want to count how many B's in I, can use count B and then 2. Because B appear 2 times. If you remove B, you will remove the first B. Now, if you observe 9, you will see the first B was removed. And this is reverse. Yeah, someone just asked me the question: if we use the negative index, can we reverse the list? So if we want to reverse list, we need to use the reverse. but not use the negative index. If you use negative index, you need some other statements. So this is 9, it has 5, 2, 6, and 8. If you use the reverse, and then we check 9, and then we see the new 9, 8, 6, 2, and 5. We reversed the initial list. If the element are not ordered, we can use the sort to order the list. For example, if you have the numbers in a messy order, if we want to source the number, we just use a sort and then source the numbers. Then you see 2, 5, 6, and 8. So we can also use some function to sort the element. Okay. So this is the summary of tuple and the list. List is slower but more powerful than tuples. List can be modified. They have lots of handy operations and methods. Tuples immutable and have fewer features. You can convert the two structures of each other. For example, tuple, you add a list assigned to 9, and 9 is a list, or 9 is a list and you tuple assigned to 2, and 2 is a tuple. So anyway, if you learn Python, it's very interesting. You use a tuple and list, and you can do a lot of operations. In Python, the operations are built in. They're very easy if you use tuple and list. Okay, let's go to part 5. In part 5, I prepared the discussion textbook and some interesting examples. So first, let me introduce 2 interesting examples, and then I think I will give you about 15 minutes to discuss the possible textbooks. Textbooks is very important, so I want to have a hot discussion, and then I can find the best textbooks in the near future. Okay, let me skip the 2 pages at first. So Python is used for many applications. For example, we handle images, songs, multimedia, single. So I give you 2 examples of image handling. To encode the pixels, there are many different methods. The encoding of RGB is one of the common encoding methods. Each pixel is represented by 3 values for red, green, and blue. Okay, so this is RGB encoding. I believe everyone is familiar with RGB encoding. And then in Python, so in particular in JSON, there are some built-in functions to open a picture, to make a picture object, and then to show the picture or to handle the picture. For example, if you want to show a picture in Python, so especially in particular in JSON, first one, pick a file. So we ask to pick a file. Example, we pick this file. A different file. pick a file. For example, I pick a beach, then okay, beach is assigned to file. The next one, make picture. So this is to make a picture object, and then we can use a show the picture. This is show a beach. Show the picture, and then we can write a program to handle the picture. For example, you change the color of the picture, makes the picture bigger, smaller, combine the picture with other picture. If you print a picture, this is to print the characteristics of the picture. So the file name where I made the picture, the height and width of the picture. Okay, so how do we use Python to handle the picture? For example, this is the beach. And if you want to take a picture for the beach for the sunset, but you accidentally missed the sunset. So you want to use a program to make a sunset. How do you make a sunset? You know, each pixel has 3 values, red, green, and blue. If the red is bigger or the blue and the green are smaller, and then the red is more obvious, and the result is like the sunset. In this program, we use the approach to get the blue value and the green value smaller, and then the red value is more obvious, and then it looks like a sunset. So in this program, we'll make sunsets, and the parameter is picture. This is a picture object. I just created picture objects of the beach, and then use a for loop. The for loop way get each blue value, and then makes the blue value times the 0.7. So blue value is smaller. It gets the green value, and then the green value is smaller. So gets blue, gets green. They are in the package. So when we use the approach, we make red more obvious, and then it is the results of sunset. So let me open the program, make sunset, load the program. Okay, so I just created the picture object. The parameter is the picture object, but not a photo file name. So this picture object. Make sunset, then show the picture. So now you see the results of sunset. You saw the initial picture, but you accidentally missed taking a photo of the sunset, and now you make the sunsets by Python programming. And the second example, I want to show the chroma key. So you know, chroma key is widely used in many applications. So if you take a picture or the video, and the background is a solo color, for example, green or blue, and then you feel free to replace the background with any other background. For example, you can replace the background with a high building, with a forest, with ocean, or even the surface of moon. So when you watch TV, you see someone is speaking before the high building, but actually they're not before the building, they're just before the background of blue or green. And then the background was replaced later by any other background. When you see the movie, you see 2 people are flying and fighting on the sky, but just fighting in the classroom, and the background is blue. And okay, so this is the program we can replace. So initially, this is the picture with blue background. And Mark, as I said, and he developed many Python books and packages. And he gave us the permission to use his face in any purpose, education, application. So I had a meeting with him when he was in Georgia. So he said that it is fine to use his face anywhere. So no problem when you use his face in the example. Okay, this is the example of chroma key. So first one, I will need to create two picture objects. One is the initial person and background. Second one is the new background. And then we will replace the old background with the new background. So pick a file. So I pick up blue mark. Next one, source. This is to make a picture by file one. Then issue source. So issue mark with blue background. The next one is to pick the second file. I pick moon surface. And we create a picture object BG. This is the background. Then I show background. This is the background of the moon surface. The next one, okay, next one, let me open the program. Key. This is the program, chroma key. Go to the program. Then I run chroma key 2 with source and background. Okay, and last show source. So we show a mark is on the surface of moon. We use chroma key technology to replace the solo color background with the surface of moon. So it's very interesting. We can use Python to handle photos by various operations. We can play songs at the same time. We can make a video. We can make a slides. So Python is very powerful. We use Python to do various things.